There's an emptiness in your social circle, a quiet void where someone remarkable once stood. This wasn't just another friend passing through. This was the person who brought a spark to every gathering, whose ideas ignited conversations, whose presence made the mundane feel profound. They were the ones who could unravel complex problems with a single sentence, who asked questions that lingered in your mind long after the night ended, who made you feel seen and understood in ways that were rare and precious. But now, they're fading into the shadows, not because they're lost in despair or shying away from connection, but because they've chosen, deliberately, to step back from a world that should cherish them but instead pushes them away. This isn't about reclusive introverts hiding in solitude. It's about vibrant, socially gifted, profoundly intelligent individuals who are quietly retreating from a society that fails to recognize their worth. This phenomenon isn't a one-off occurrence, it's a pervasive pattern unfolding across the fabric of our world. Doctors are walking away from their stethoscopes, leaving behind years of training and expertise. Executives are abandoning corner offices, turning their backs on the corporate ladder they once climbed with ambition. Artists are setting down their brushes, leaving galleries empty of their vision. Teachers are closing their classroom doors, no longer willing to fight a system that stifles learning. These are not people who lack drive or talent. They are often the most brilliant, the most perceptive, the most capable among us. Yet they're becoming ghosts. Their voices growing faint, their contributions fading into obscurity. Why are these exceptional minds choosing invisibility? What truths have they uncovered that the rest of us are too distracted, too comfortable, or too complicit to see? And what does it mean when intelligence, once a guiding light for progress, becomes a heavy burden rather than a celebrated gift? The answers are not just unsettling, they're a wake-up call. For once you see the world through their eyes, you cannot unsee the fractures they've exposed. It begins with a quiet but seismic shift in perception, a moment when the world's glossy surface cracks to reveal the dissonance beneath. Picture yourself in a boardroom, surrounded by colleagues nodding in unison to a proposal built on obvious falsehoods, their faces blank with agreement, their critical faculties suspended. Imagine watching friends you care about chase hollow dreams, status, wealth, or fleeting validation at the cost of their health, their relationships, their very sense of self. Envision a society that consistently elevates selfishness, deceit, and superficiality while sidelining integrity, creativity, and depth. For the intelligent mind, this isn't a fleeting annoyance, it's a profound disillusionment. It's the moment they realize that the world isn't just flawed, it's fundamentally misaligned with truth and reason. Once they see these cracks, they become impossible to ignore, like a painting you once admired now revealed as a poorly drawn imitation. This realization sets them on a path apart. They begin to question not just their role in society, but the very systems that shape it, systems that reward conformity over courage, mediocrity over excellence, and compliance over curiosity. They see a world that doesn't just tolerate absurdity, but actively enforces it, and they cannot unlearn this truth. It's as if they've been handed a pair of glasses that reveal the scaffolding behind the stage, and suddenly, the performance everyone else applauds feels like a farce. This awakening is both liberating and isolating, for it marks the beginning of their divergence from the world they once tried to engage. Social interactions, which should be a source of connection and growth, have become a hollow ritual, a carefully choreographed dance where everyone knows the steps, but no one remembers the music. Conversations unfold like scripts, filled with predictable lines and recycled opinions. People speak without listening, their words piling up like empty calories, filling the moment, but nourishing no one. For the intelligent mind, this isn't merely tedious, it's a form of starvation. They don't reject small talk out of arrogance or a sense of superiority. They reject it because they're ravenous for meaning. Imagine a master chef, capable of crafting dishes that delight the senses and stir the soul, being forced to eat flavorless, processed scraps every day. That's what shallow interactions feel like to someone who craves depth. These individuals long for exchanges that ignite the mind, that challenge assumptions, that weave connections strong enough to withstand the weight of real questions. They want to dive into the complexities of existence, to wrestle with ideas that don't have easy answers, to share moments that leave both parties changed. But modern social norms have reduced human connection to a transactional exchange, like fast food ordered at a drive-thru, quick, convenient, and utterly unsatisfying. The expectation to conform to this ritual polite pleasantries, safe topics, and surface-level banter feels like a betrayal of what human interaction could be. It's not that they hate people, it's that they love connection too much to settle for its counterfeit. So, they begin to withdraw, not from humanity itself, but from the empty ceremonies that pass for it. They seek out rare souls who share their hunger for substance, forming small, intentional communities where ideas can breathe and authenticity isn't just tolerated, but cherished. This withdrawal is often misinterpreted as aloofness, but it's a deliberate choice to preserve their intellectual and emotional vitality. They're not turning their backs on society out of disdain. They're searching for a space where they can be fully themselves, where their thoughts don't have to be diluted to fit the mold of acceptability. In these moments of retreat, they're not rejecting connection, they're redefining it, seeking a version that honors the depth of their minds and the sincerity of their hearts. The phrase "everyone's doing it" strikes a chilling chord in the intelligent mind, a warning of the herd mentality that suffocates individuality. They watch with a mix of fascination and horror as people trade their unique perspectives for the comfort of conformity. Original thinkers become echoes of the crowd. Curiosity is smothered by the need to belong, and the spark of independent thought is extinguished under the weight of collective approval. The herd doesn't seek leaders who challenge its path. It demands followers who reinforce its direction, no matter how misguided. Picture a dinner party where you voice an unconventional opinion, something that cuts against the grain of popular belief. The room doesn't lean in with curiosity or engage with your idea, it stiffens, corrects, or dismisses you. The unspoken rule is clear: stay in line or risk being left behind. For the intelligent, this is intolerable. Their minds are built to question, to probe, to dismantle assumptions and seek truth, no matter how uncomfortable. They refuse to accept tradition, consensus, or "that's just how it is" as sufficient evidence. This relentless curiosity makes them dangerous to the status quo, for a single question can unravel the fragile threads of groupthink. Doubt is contagious. It spreads like wildfire, threatening the stability of systems built on unexamined beliefs. Society responds with a kind of immune response, isolating those who dare to think differently. It shames the skeptics, marginalizes the innovators, and punishes those who refuse to conform. The intelligent face a stark choice: betray their intellect to blend in, endure ostracism for their independence, or forge a new path entirely. Many choose the third option, seeking out or creating communities where questioning is encouraged, where ideas are tested rather than silenced, where individuality is a strength rather than a threat. These tribes, often small and scattered, become sanctuaries for free thought, places where the intelligent can speak without fear of correction or rejection. Yet even as they find solace in these spaces, the cost of their divergence is heavy. They're not just stepping away from the crowd, they're stepping away from the systems that reward conformity, systems that shape careers, social status, and cultural influence. Their withdrawal is both an act of rebellion and a quiet plea for a world that values truth over comfort. Consumerism has become the heartbeat of modern identity, a mantra that whispers, "I shop, therefore I am." To the intelligent mind, this is both transparent and terrifying. They see through the polished veneer of marketing, recognizing the psychological manipulation that drives it. Advertisements prey on insecurities, offering products as solutions to manufactured problems, delivering fleeting satisfaction only to ignite new desires. People define themselves by what they own, tying their worth to brands, their identity to possessions, their value to the size of their bank accounts. What horrifies the intelligent isn't just the manipulation, it's how seamlessly it works. The system is a well-oiled machine, designed to exploit human vulnerabilities and keep the cycle of consumption spinning endlessly. This cycle, earn, spend, repeat, raises a question that echoes in the intelligent mind. What's the point? It's not a casual musing, but a demand for meaning, a refusal to accept a life reduced to chasing material markers of success. They See how many modern careers exist to fuel this machine. From advertising agencies crafting desire to corporations profiting off planned obsolescence. To opt out of this system, choosing purpose over profit, meaning over money, freedom over possessions is to risk being labeled a failure by a society that measures worth in wealth. Yet for the intelligent, this isn't failure, it's liberation. They view participation in a rigged game as a form of voluntary enslavement, and they refuse to play. Instead, they seek lives of substance, even if it means living modestly, working in obscurity, or defying conventional definitions of success. This choice often comes at a steep cost. By rejecting consumerism, they alienate themselves from systems that dominate modern life, systems that dictate job, opportunities, social acceptance, and cultural relevance. They're not just opting out of materialism, they're opting out of a worldview that equates happiness with acquisition. Their refusal to conform is a quiet revolution, a reclamation of their autonomy in a world that seeks to commodify their very existence. We live in an age of unprecedented connectivity, yet the irony is stark. We've never been more alone. The intelligent mind quickly discerns the difference between true connection and mere contact, between meaningful conversation and digital noise. Social media platforms promise community, but deliver crowds, offer intimacy, but foster performance, pledge authenticity, but reward artifice. Engaging online feels like shouting into a void, where nuanced ideas are flattened into sound bites, complex thoughts are reduced to memes, and genuine dialogue is drowned out by algorithms prioritizing outrage and virality. People mistake likes for understanding, shares for connection, and viral content for wisdom. But to the intelligent, this is a hollow imitation of what human interaction should be. They don't reject technology out of Luddite stubbornness. They reject its cheap substitutes for real relationships. They crave conversations that linger, that evolve through mutual exploration, that leave both parties richer for the exchange. Yet the digital world often feels like an echo chamber, where depth is sacrificed for brevity and authenticity is buried under curated personas. So they step back, not because they hate progress, but because they value connection too much to settle for its counterfeit. They seek out spaces, whether face-to-face or in carefully curated online communities, where ideas can unfold, where vulnerability is met with empathy, where human interaction isn't reduced to data points. Their withdrawal is a defense of what makes us human, a refusal to let technology erode the essence of connection. In a world addicted to action, the need for quiet reflection is often dismissed as laziness or detachment. Yet for the intelligent mind, introspection is not a luxury, it's the oxygen they breathe. They require time to process the world's complexities, to weave together disparate ideas, to cultivate insights that others overlook. This need for solitude and silence clashes with a society that glorifies busyness, where notifications, deadlines, and social obligations create a relentless assault on the space needed for deep thought. Imagine trying to solve a puzzle in a room filled with flashing lights and blaring noise. Modern life feels like that to the intelligent, a constant distraction from the clarity they seek. To them, action without reflection is just motion, and busyness without purpose is a waste of life's potential. They guard their solitude fiercely, carving out sanctuaries where they can hear their own thoughts, wrestle with big questions, and connect the dots of a fragmented world. Society often misinterprets this as aloofness or antisocial behavior, but it's neither. It's a deliberate choice to prioritize clarity over chaos, to preserve the mental space where insight is born. In a culture that equates constant connectivity with productivity, this commitment to introspection makes them seem distant, even as they're diving deeper into the truths that shape our world. The intelligent mind is haunted by a pattern that others overlook. Modern systems reward the wrong behaviors. Honest individuals struggle while manipulators climb the ranks. Kindness is exploited, while ruthlessness is celebrated. Virtue is penalized, and vice is elevated. This misalignment is pervasive. Politics thrives on deception rather than truth. Business prioritizes profit over value. Media chases sensationalism over accuracy. And education often stifles creativity in favor of conformity. To succeed in these systems often requires compromising one's principles, a price the intelligent are unwilling to pay. This moral dissonance forces a choice: conform to a corrupt system, endure the isolation of dissent, or walk away entirely. For many, integrity is non-negotiable. They'd rather fail by society's standards, foregoing promotions, wealth, or recognition than succeed by betraying their values. This stance cuts them off from traditional paths to success, but it preserves something far more precious: their sense of self. By choosing principle over pragmatism, they maintain their moral compass in a world that seems to have lost its own. Their withdrawal isn't just a rejection of flawed systems. It's a testament to their belief that a life of integrity is worth more than any external reward. For the intelligent, navigating a world that fears complexity is a constant act of translation. They've spent their lives simplifying their thoughts, hiding their insights, and presenting a diluted version of themselves to avoid intimidating others. Intelligence, they've learned, can unsettle people. Depth can alienate. Complexity can confuse. So, they develop a public persona, second language of simplicity, to navigate social expectations. But this translation is exhausting, like trying to describe a symphony in a single note. Something vital is always lost, and over time, the effort becomes unsustainable. Eventually, many stop trying. They retreat to the safety of their own minds, seeking out the rare few who can match their intellectual and emotional depth. This isn't arrogance, it's survival, a preservation of their authentic selves in a world that demands artificial simplicity. They'd rather connect deeply with a handful of kindred spirits than perform for a crowd that doesn't understand them. But this retreat comes at a cost. The world loses their voices, their ideas, their potential to challenge and inspire. They're not just withdrawing from society, they're withdrawing from a culture that punishes them for being who they are. When these brilliant minds fade into the background, society doesn't just lose their contributions, it loses its conscience. These are the people who ask the questions that make us squirm, who challenge systems built on lies, who refuse to accept that's just how it is as an answer. They are the canaries in the coal mine of civilization, warning us of dangers we're too distracted to notice. Their silence, whether intellectual, emotional, or spiritual, diminishes us all. The world becomes less curious, less compassionate, less aware of its own flaws, as their absence leaves a void that mediocrity cannot fill. This isn't a story of aloof geniuses who think they're above the rest of us. It's a story of people who engaged with the world, who believed in its potential, and who found it lacking. They didn't withdraw because they thought they were better than society. They withdrew because they hoped society could be better than it is. The question isn't whether they're justified in stepping away. It's what kind of world pushes its brightest minds to the edges, forcing them to choose between their integrity and their place in it. The future depends on what we do next. We can continue building systems that alienate intelligence, that reward conformity and mediocrity while punishing excellence and truth. Or we can choose a different path, one that creates space for deep thinking, that celebrates authenticity over artifice, that values substance over style. We can foster environments where questions are welcomed, where complexity is embraced, where integrity is a badge of honor rather than a liability. The intelligent are watching from the margins, hoping we'll prove them wrong about the world's priorities. They're waiting to see if we'll build a society worthy of their contributions, one that doesn't demand they sacrifice their values to participate. The choice is ours, and the stakes are nothing less than the soul of our civilization.